Hello, this is Nathan Dyson for PlayStation Access. Later on today at 7:30 UK time, we're very excited to be live streaming our very own The Last of Us event from London, which will feature gameplay demos and a Q&A with Naughty Dog. But before that, we've got a little extra for you. Yesterday we got a sneak peek at the venue, which is looking amazing, and we had the chance to speak to creative director Neil Druckmann and Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie in the game. I began by asking Ashley how she got involved in her first ever video game.
You know, I've always wanted to work on a video game, and this was actually the first one that I've ever been able to audition for. My voiceover agent, she sent everything over and said, hey, would you ever work on a video game? And I was like, yes, of course. What do you think I do with my life? So, kind of true. And so she sent me out on the audition, and I went in and I read for Neil and Bruce, and someone else was there.
I think Evan might have been there.
I think Evan Wells. And so I read the part, but I hadn't put on the motion capture suit yet. And then I got the part. We had some other auditions were involved, but thankfully they let me play Ellie.
She got the part pretty quickly. When Ashley walked in, we knew right away that was our Ellie. Joel took us a long time to find until we found an unknown actor called Troy Baker. You might have heard of him. It's so annoying in how many games he's in. It's getting annoying, isn't it? No, funnily enough, when we cast him, I didn't know Troy Baker was a big deal. He just came in and read, and I think I knew he was in Final Fantasy. That's the only other game I knew he was in. But he was Joel.
And when he came in, he looks like his character in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, he does it like, that was actually like there's no way
oh.
this guy could be Joel, just looking at him. But then like you hear his voice and his movement, and he kind of had this natural rapport with Ashley, and the chemistry was there. And that was something we were really looking for.
Whole goddamn town's booby-trapped. Best stay right on my ass.
Can't miss it.
Knock it off.
Troy was so invested in the project. And he would on off days, he would call me and talk about the scenes and discuss the motivation of the character and where the character is heading. And you know, Troy a lot of times would have really strong opinions about the characters, and a lot of times they were vastly different than what I thought of Joel and where I thought Joel would head. And you know, sometimes, you know, Troy will yield to me, but a lot of times, you know, I felt like it was important for Ashley and Troy to interpret the material how they see fit, so they could kind of lose themselves in the roles. So how Joel ended up is actually very different. I guess how both characters ended up is very different than how I initially envisioned them.
Here, this make you all nostalgic?
You know, that is actually before my time. That is a winner, though.
I wasn't sure exactly how to prepare for this, so one of the things I did is I took an acting class, which was frightening because I'm a shy, introverted guy. But just because I used to think of having a vision is having this very specific idea of how something should sound and look, and then you just try to get everybody to match that. And actually what I learned through taking the acting class and working with these guys is a lot of it is about letting go and letting people have their own interpretation of the material and letting them kind of own it. So every step of the way, you let someone else own the material their own way, and it becomes much more organic and fluid and better than trying to stick to something very specific.
How did you know?
Know what?
About the ambush.
I've been on both sides.
So between takes and stuff, Ashley keeps cracking jokes, and she has this really awkward sense of humor. And we found that we would incorporate a lot of that to Ellie. So as you play the game, you'll hear kind of that humor, and sometimes a lot of improvised jokes and laughter. That's all Ashley. That wasn't actually written.
Hey, good job with all the, you know, killing and stuff.
You know, I know that this is Neil's first, it was his directorial debut, but it doesn't seem like this is the first time he's ever directed. And I think, you know, what we would do is we would have one day of rehearsal where we would get all the scenes that we were going to shoot for that week, and then we would have about 2 or 3 days of shooting after that. And I think Neil is very calm, which I think is one thing that makes him great. But also he's able to sort of deal with everybody's personalities. You know, he knows there's not one way to talk to everybody. It's like, well, you know what, let's try this, or if you want to try that, let's try this. And it was just such an easygoing environment to be in.
With Ashley, I could tell when a line wasn't working for her. She wouldn't say it, but she would keep forgetting it. And I would be like, yeah, that line isn't really working for Ellie. She's like, yeah, it's not. And then we would usually just switch it up or try something else.
You know, there was one scene, and Troy's talked about this, where it was definitely a more emotional scene, and Troy and I were just not connecting as well as we should have. And so he said, you know what, let's step away for about 15 minutes and, you know, sort of reconnect and refigure out what we're going to do here. And that's pretty rare on a set, because you don't usually get to take time to sort of, you know, reconnect and, you know, get yourself together and focus. To take 15 minutes and be like, okay, what are we doing here? And there have been a couple of other scenes that I think we've seen where we're like, you know what, we can do that better. Let's reshoot it.
Yeah, there's 2 scenes I can think of that. One is the original scene that we shot with the 2 of you in the truck.
Oh yeah.
That we, you know, the characters felt a certain way, and then as more and like Ashley and Troy kind of got into their skin, they really fleshed out the characters. That we kind of kept going back to that scene and reshooting certain elements and making little additions to it. But there's another one, Troy would talk about this one. There's this really emotional scene for Troy that, well, when we initially shot the scene, it took us like 7 or 8 takes, and we felt like we had it. And it was just draining for Troy, like he was just drained after shooting that. And then we started cutting it together, and I felt like we could do better. Like we could sell this emotion by doing less. And that's kind of been the motto of the game, like what's the least we could do to kind of sell a particular emotion or a particular aesthetic. And I remember like telling Troy about, I was like, yeah, remember that scene that was really draining? He's like, yeah. I'm like, we're gonna come back to it. He's like, and he thought I was messing with him because he just like threw himself. And I'm like, no, we have to come back to it. And we came back and shot it. And total takes for the 2 days, and this was a few weeks later, it was like 20 something takes to get that scene. And it was so intense and so draining. There were people on the set that said, I can't watch this anymore, and just walked off the set. But at the end, I felt like we got something, you know, that was really honest and genuine, and I don't know, I hope moving when people finally experience it in the game.
We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess!
This whole experience has been different than anything that I've ever done, and it's so much more intricate. But also the fact that when you shoot the scene, because of motion capture and because of how many cameras are set up, they can sort of set the shots up however they want after it's done, which is crazy to me, because I'm used to being on a set where, you know, you set up your camera at one angle and you just shoot one side, and then it takes 2 hours to turn everything around and you go to the next side. And, you know, this setup, you can obviously get a lot more done, you know, within a shorter amount of time, but you also have more freedom to try stuff and to sort of take more risks and to try and be like, well, that was kind of stupid, but at least we tried something different. Or, hey, that was awesome, that really worked. I think that was one of the huge differences for me that I took away from this.
You also got really good at grunting and screaming in pain.
Oh yeah, I got really good at screaming in pain. Yeah, but Yeah, it was definitely also a lot more physical than anything else I've ever worked on. I mean, I walked away every day with a bruise, which means that the day went well. I also do feel like I've been spoiled by working on this game and with working with Naughty Dog, because I think everybody there is so creative and so open to everybody's ideas, and it's just such a creative and inspiring environment. So I think across the board of, you know, film or TV or cartoons, this is one of my favorite things I've ever worked on, and I think it's just been so rewarding every day at work, and you know, working on the stuff that he's written is so fun to put that to life. But I would love to do more video games, but I've been thinking about it lately, and I'm like, I wonder if I would enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed this. And I'm so attached to the characters and the story. But yeah, I mean, I'm also not one of those voiceover actors like Troy who can do a lot of voices. So, I mean, let's be honest. So I don't know if people would hire me to do more games.
Guess they took the easy way out, huh?
It ain't easy. A lot of people is better than letting 100 infected do it for them. Trust me, it ain't easy.
AI on this game, you know, has been such a daunting task, and you know, we were so ambitious with what we wanted to do with our enemies as far as making them feel human and surprising in their decision making. But at the same time, Ellie, you know, we kept saying if you don't buy into Ellie, if you don't buy into this relationship between Joel and Ellie, then we would have failed. So it was making her seem intelligent and surprising, and when you're like out exploring, you know, she dynamically moves between spots and looks around and sometimes finds things and gives them to you, or you'll hear her dynamically hum or try to whistle, and then at some point she learns how to whistle, and then she can whistle properly from that point on, or in combat when she's in stealth with you. So it's like building systems and building all these systems, and we felt like, you know, we just nailed it at the very end. Like at the last minute, it all came together to sell this person. And for us, you know, it doesn't really matter the hardware. You know, we felt like we had this thing that we wanted to do, and yeah, there were technical constraints, but you know, we found tricks and ways to get around those constraints. And you know, now like moving forward and seeing like new hardware and what's on the horizon, it's just like, oh, it'll be easier, but we'll hit different constraints. And it's more about what is it that we're trying to say with this thing? What is it that makes it unique? What is it that inspires us that's much more important than any specific hardware?
Thanks to Neil and Ashley. Don't forget to stay tuned to the channel for the live stream later. Put your comments in the boxes below, like us and subscribe for more videos like this one.